Hello guys and welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to talk about my top 5 stock picks for 2022. Now 2022 is going to be a really interesting year if you are an investor. We've had a pretty rough start to the year and right now the stock market is down by roughly 8% since the start of 2022. So right now there are companies that are sort of like on sale, I guess you can say, and it is a pretty interesting time to look at what companies you might be able to put into your portfolio for 2022. Before we get into my top 5 stocks for 2022, I will roughly talk about what my strategy for 2022 is, because 2022 is looking to be a very different year from 2021 and 2020. So first of all, we do have a very high increase in the interest rate. We also have a sharp increase in the inflation, and we do still have supply problems from COVID-19. And all of these things combined are sort of like meaning that the outlook in 2022 is not going to be the same as it was in 2021. And that is why I've also changed my portfolio according to it. So basically in 2021, I bought a lot of like tech companies, high valued companies. But in 2022, I'm going to change my strategy and I've sold many of these companies that I did have in 2021. And I'm right now looking to buy more sort of like value companies. So basically I'm changing my sort of like new, interesting growth companies with more old and boring companies that have sort of like been there forever, that everyone knows of and that has sort of like paying dividends and so on. So this is the first thing, and this basically means that my strategy for 2022 is going to be to focus on value stocks. And the stocks that you're going to see in this list is most likely also companies that has been there for a very long time, that everyone knows of and that are sort of like very financial stable companies. So the first company that I do want to buy in 2022 is going to be Disney. This is a company that we've all heard about before, and this is a company that's been there forever. Disney has basically paid dividends since 1979, just until 2022 when the pandemic hit, and they basically suspended their dividend payments. And they did this because Disney was hit very, very hard by this pandemic. Basically, they have theme parks, hotels and resorts, they have cruises, they have ESPN, the live sports, they have movie theaters and so on. And all of these different business products, they were hit very hard by the pandemic, and therefore they had a quite hit in their earnings as well. All of these things have resulted in a decrease in their earnings and also in their stock price. It has sort of like increased during 2021, but I still find the level that they're at now very attractive. And I do think that once the pandemic is completely over, then a company like Disney will increase their earnings. And they've also launched Disney Plus, which has sort of like helped stabilize their earnings. But I do think that going forward, this is a company that's really looking solid. And I do think that they're going to reinstall their payment scheme again. And so overall, I do think this is going to be a very good investment. And this is something that I'm looking to buy in 2022. So the next stock on my list is going to be a Danish company actually called NovoNordisk. NovoNordisk is basically a medicine company that is producing insulin. This is one of the largest medicine companies in the world. This company was founded in 1923, so that's almost 100 years ago, which is absolutely insane to think about. One of my reasons for wanting to buy this company is that even though the sort of like economic circumstances are unsure, then everyone needs to buy medicine. This basically means that the earnings for Novo Nordisk, no matter what economic circumstances there are, will be pretty high and they will be stable because people still buy it, right? This basically means that the company always has a very high cash flow, but this company is also very, very innovative. It has produced a lot of products during 2021 and 2020, and it is looking really, really solid for 2022. And I'm really excited to see what the future holds for this company. And this is one of the companies that I've actually bought in January and that I'm going to buy more of in 2022. The third company on my list is also a company that we've all heard about before. It is Visa. I do think that Visa is going to be one of my top investments for 2022. And the reason is that we have such high inflation, which in a way could actually benefit Visa. Usually inflation can benefit Visa because Visa makes money based on the transactions that we make with our credit cards. Now let's say that all of the prices increase by 7%. That actually means that when you're swiping your credit card at the supermarket, you can expect to pay 7% more for the price you buy in 2022 than you could in 2020, for example. This means that the transaction fee that Visa actually acquires from you swiping your credit card at the supermarket will be higher this year than it was previously. And thus can Visa act as a natural hedge against inflation. With the high inflation rates we have right now, I do believe that Visa is a really solid company. But Visa has also paid dividend for a very, very long time. It is a dividend aristocrat, and it will continue to pay dividends for a long time. And I'm also sure that Visa is going to stay around forever, and it's one of those companies that I would highly recommend to buy and hold in your portfolio. Visa is a company that I do already own, but I do plan on acquiring more Visa as I'm sort of like moving away from the sort of like growth stocks into the value stocks. And this is one way that I'm going to do it. So if you're looking for something that could sort of like protect you against the high inflation rates that is expected in 2022, then I could recommend you to look more into Visa and maybe analyze this company and see whether this could be something for you. I know from my personal perspective, then I do think this company is going to be really interesting in 2022. It does have some pretty solid financials, and the stock price right now is not completely overpriced. I do find it to be not cheap, but I do think it's worth paying for it because I do believe that the value of the company will be higher within 10 years than it is today. And that is the main thing that I think about when I invest my money. So the second company on my list is going to be a very, very large US company that everyone knows of, and most of you guys probably have a product that this company has produced. The company is Apple. Even though that I said I was going to move away from these sort of like growth stocks into value stocks, and that there could be arguments made for Apple still being a growth stock, then I do believe that they have so extremely good financials that they also can be considered to be value stocks. Apple is one of the most financial solid companies in the world, and in my opinion it is also one of the most innovative companies in the world. Apple have experienced absolutely tremendous growth over the last 5 or 10 years, and I do think that this is going to continue in 2022 and also in 2023 and so on. I do think that they're going to find one way to increase their earnings even further than they already have. I do already have a large proportion of my overall stocks in Apple, but I'm going to buy even more in 2022 because I do believe this company is extremely solid, and I do believe that this company has a very, very bright future. The only argument that sort of like goes against buying Apple is the current price of the company. But companies like Apple, they're never going to sell basically because they have such high quality. Whenever the price decreases by a few percent, everyone sort of like buys these companies. And that just speaks to how good of a company and how solid of a company it actually is. So therefore I am going to buy this company. I'm going to buy more of the shares in Apple in 2022. So the number one stock on my list for 2022 is not actually going to be a specific company. Where I'm going to place the majority of my investments in 2022 is going to be within the S&P 500 index. The S&P 500 index does include the largest 500 companies in the US. So by investing into this index, you get exposed to all of the 500 largest companies in the US in your portfolio. This is a very, very cheap way of diversifying your overall portfolio and your overall risk. The reason why I'm going to put the majority of my investment into the S&P 500 index in 2022 is because this does offer a really, really great diversification of risk, and it is a very, very cheap way to get market exposure to all of these companies. Moreover, it is statistically sort of like measured that this index does increase by an average of 8% every single year, or at least it has done that since the sort of like beginning of the S&P 500 index, and that is a quite good number. So by only buying this index, you will actually get the market returns, and that is what eventually will lead you to beating 99% of all the other investors out there. The S&P 500 index is always my largest proportion in my investment portfolio, and it will continue to be so. I always put more than 50% of everything that I have into the S&P 500 index because I do believe it is the most solid and the most easy way, I guess you could say, to make very good returns in the stock market. It is my way of diversifying my risk. When I buy the S&P 500 index, I don't really think much about the current price of the index. I'm putting money into this index every single month, and I will continue to do so. I don't really think much about it because I do believe that the S&P 500 index will be worth a lot more in 10 years than it is today. And that is the most important thing when investing, in my opinion. So therefore, the number one stock on my 2022 investment list is going to be the S&P 500 index. I do believe this is a great place to invest, whether you are a beginner, intermediate, advanced, or whatever you want to call yourself. Then you should always have some sort of proportion within the S&P 500 index. So that was basically everything for this video. I hope that you liked the video, and if you did, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this one. If you would, then I would really much appreciate it if you would leave your investment strategy for 2022 in the comment field below, so I can see what you guys are actually going to do with your investments in 2022. So see you on the next one.